papers. He was Abraham Lincoln's best friend,
I didn't know that.
and he
What's
We
his name?
spent time with Brooksy.
yeah, and
What's his name again?
Noah Brooks. And Noah Brooks, the guy who I got the phone call from today, wrote his dissertation on him. And Noah
Brooksville.
recited this poem to Lincoln in the White House, and it brought Lincoln to tears. And so I'm going to recite it for you. It's called "The Building of the Ship." It's by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Build me straight, O worthy master, staunch and strong, a goodly vessel, that shall laugh at all disaster, and with wave and whirlwind wrestle. The merchant's word delighted the master heard, for his heart was in his work, and his heart giveth grace unto every art. A quiet smile played upon the lips, as the eddies and dimples of the tide played round the bows of ships, that steadily at anchor ride. And with voice that was full of glee, he answered, "Ere long we will launch a vessel as goodly and strong and staunch as ever weathered a wintry sea. And first, with nicest skill and art, perfect and finished in every part, a little model the master wrought, which should be to the larger plan what the child is to the man. Its counterpart in miniature, that with a hand more swift and sure, the greater labor might be brought to answer to his inward thoughts. And as he labored in his mind, ran over the various ships that were built of yore, and above them all, and strangest of all, towered the great Harry, crank and tall, whose picture was hanging on the wall, with bows and sterns raised high in air, and balconies hanging ere and there, with signal lanterns and flags afloat, and 8 round towers like those that frown from some old castle looking down upon the drawbridge and the moat. And he said with a smile, "Our ship, I wish, shall be of another form than this." It was of another form indeed, built for freight and yet for speed. The beautiful and the gallant craft, broad in the beam and the stress of the blast, pressing down upon the sail and mast, might not the sharp bows overwhelm, broad in the beam, but sloping aft, with graceful curve and slow degrees, that she might be docile to the helm, and at the current of the parted seas, closing behind in mighty force, might aid and not impede her course. In the shipyard stood the master with the model of the vessel that should laugh at all disaster, and with wave and whirlwind wrestle, covering many a road of ground, laying the timber piled around, timber of chestnut and elm and oak, and scattered here and there with these the gnarled and crooked cedar knees, brought from regions far away, from Pascagoula's sunny bay, and the banks of the roaring Roanoke. Ah, what a wondrous thing it is to note how many wheels of toil one thought, one word can set in motion. There's not a ship that sails the ocean, but every climate, every soil must bring its tribute, great and small, and help to build the wooden wall. The sun was rising o'er the sea, and long the level shadow lay, and if they too, the beams would be of some great airy argosy, framed and launched in a single day, that silent architect, the sun, had sown and laid them every one, ere the work of man was yet begun, beside the master when he spoke, a youth against an anchor leaning, listening to catch his slightest meaning. Only the long wave as they broke, in ripples of the pebbly beach, interrupted the old man's speech. Beautiful they were, in sooth, the old man and the fiery youth, the old man in whose busy brain many a ship had sailed the main, was modeled o'er and o'er again, the fiery youth who was to be the heir of his dexterity, the heir of his house in his daughter's hand, when he had built and launched from land what the elder had planned. Thus he said, "We will build this ship, lay square the blocks upon the slip, And follow well this plan of mine. Choose the timbers with greatest care. Of all that is unsound beware, and only that is sound and strong to this vessel shall belong. Cedar of Maine and Georgia pine, where together shall combine a goodly frame and a goodly frame, and a goodly frame and a goodly frame, and the union be her name. For the day that gives her to the sea shall give my daughter unto thee. The master's word enraptured the young man heard, and he returned his face aside with a look of joy and thrill and pride. And standing before her father's door, he saw the form of his promised bride. The sun shone on the golden hair, and her cheek was glowing fresh and fair. With the breath of morn and the soft sea air, like a beauteous barge was she, still at rest on the sandy beach, just beyond the billowy reach. But he was a restless, seething, stormy sea, and how skillful grows the hand that obeyeth love's command. It is the heart and not the brain that to the highest door of a train attain, and he who followeth love's behest far excellent to the rest. Thus with the rising sun was the noble task begun, and soon throughout the shipyards bound were heard the intermingled sound of axes and of mallets plied with vigorous arms of every side, plied of deftly and so well that ere the shadows of evening fell, the keel of oak of a noble ship, scarfed and bolted and straight and strong, was lying readily and stretched along, the blocks well placed upon the slip. Happy, thrice happy every one, to see his labor well begun, and not perplexed and multiplied by idly waiting for the time and tide. And when the hot long day was o'er, and the young man of the master's door sat with the maiden calm and still, and within the porch a little more removed beyond the evening chill, the father sat and told them tales of wrecks of the great September gales, of pirates coasting the Spanish main, and ships that never came back again. The chance and the change of a sailor's life, where it in plenty, rest and strife, his roving fancy like the wind, that nothing can stay and nothing can bind, and the magic charm of foreign lands, with shadow of palm and shining sands, where the tumbling surf or the coral reefs of Madagascar washes the feet in the swarthy lascar. As he lies along and sleeps on the turf, and the trembling maiden held her breath, and the tales of the awful pitiless sea was all in its terror mystery, the dim dark sea, so like unto death, that divides yet unties mankind. And whenever the old man paused, a gleam from the bowl of his pipe would a while illume the silent group in the twilight gloom, and thenceforth face, as in a dream, and for a moment that might mark what was been hidden by the dark. But the head of the maiden lay at rest tenderly on the young man's breast. Day by day the vessel grew, the timbers fashioned strong and true, stemson, keelson, sternson, knee, till framed in perfect symmetry a skeleton ship rose up to view, and around the bows, along and sides, heavy hammers and mallets plied, till after many a week at length, wonderful from form and strength, sublime in its enormous bulk, loomed aloft the shadowy hulk, and around it columns of smoke unwreathing rose from the boiling, bubbling, seething cauldron that glowed and overflowed with the black tar heated from the sheathing. And of course my phone just died.
Oh no.
Fuck.
That was magnificent.
I'm only about halfway into this one.
Wow.
So that's okay. I'm kind of
Let me
glad
ask
the
you a
phone
question.